because you're going to go into this and you can research these things yourself. Now, these are the facts we need to understand about graphene oxide, mRNA technology, meth and methamphetamine, right? And amphetamine. I want you to listen to me carefully, okay? This was used in the days of the pharaohs, the great gods and all these things. I've gone into many explanations about Plato, the greatest philosopher of all time, who studied human beings more than anybody. He's the greatest philosopher, and any philosopher ever since has only been footnotes of Plato. Consider the biggest problem in the world today is that people suffer the human conditioning. That means the whole world's going crazy, right? And I just want you to understand what the truth is. Okay, Jeremy Griffiths, the #1 biologist today, studied Plato and the human conditioning for 45 years. So consider this, right? Just consider these things. He's hailed by the 300 top scientists in the world for the IPCC reports, the ones on climate, the ones that tell you what the primary problem is that you're not even aware of because the politicians all over the world, scientists and professors, doctors and media systems can't face this, can't even wrap their head around it. But the biggest problem for climate is we cannot change mankind from the way he thinks. Okay, and he suffers the human conditioning by thinking in reverse psychology 95+% of the time, and many people are going into brain lock beyond the point of return, thinking psychologically, mentally 100% of the time, completely disattached from their own soul and sold out. Think about this. That's what's happening. Now, so consider this for a moment, right? Jeremy Griffiths, the biggest biologist today, wrote the book Freedom, the Cure of the Human Condition that's going to save humanity. And believe me, I know exactly what I'm talking about. It's going to save humanity. Okay, the truth's going to set you free by thinking in the right mindset as a loving, compassionate creature. And freedom, right, is living in the truth, that you're in the wrong mindset. Okay, consider these things. You suffer the circumstances with a mental institutionalization, massive hypnotized state, and you suffer from stress, fear, anxiety, confusion, frustration, delusion, ADHD, psychosis, or paranoia every single day and live in denial about it exactly the same time, as if you're happy and as if you're free. But humanity's never been more unhappy. They've never been less free. And there's never been more negative vibrations spreading all over the world with people living in massive delusion, believing in theories rather than facts. Humanity's lost beyond comprehension, and that's why this story is extremely extraordinary. Now, they suffered the human condition in the days of Noah and became very evil, and God created the great flood. The pharaohs took 40,000 Israelites into slavery for 400 years and socially engineered them back to front and stripped them from their faith system. They went psychologically mental and started to suffer the human condition dramatically. Moses took them across to the desert, and they sat in the desert for 3 generations for 40 years, suffering the human condition psychologically, mentally, and completely disattached from their sixth sense and their own spirit, right? Consider these things. For 40 years, Moses goes back to the Pharaoh and gets bread with graphene oxide gold that they use. Excuse me. He goes back to the pharaohs and gets some bread with graphene oxide gold and takes it back to the Israelites in the desert, and a one-time activation. A one-time activation where they eat the bread and then they restore their faith system to conduct to light, power and energy, and then they have faith in God, right, and get their priorities right and stop suffering the human conditioning. That's why this is so extraordinary that you need to pay attention to. People suffering from all sorts of mental disorders, from stress, fear, anxiety, confusion, frustration, delusion, ADHD, psychosis or paranoia, got activated in such a way that they were free from all these dark entities. And I just want you to consider that, because this might tell you a lot of things about life in the time that you're in now. One-time activation. Graphene oxide gold is the highest conductor in the world, right? And also has a tools of immortality. You can Google and study these things through scholar reports and all this, and I can guarantee you, gold, right, is classified, right, as a molecule of immortality. And we create 2 molecules of immortality from the back of our pineal gland with graphene oxide, what? Iodine graphene oxide. So I want you to consider that. I want you to consider that you create this, a conductor to 7-fold wisdom and knowledge, right? That makes your body cells receive 7 times more information in the most positive fields. But you have to be in the right mindset and have absolute faith in your human instincts that it is your spirit, right, that's trying to guide you through your third eye, your pineal gland, through your feelings. You feel things between right, wrong, good and evil. And that's what I want you to have faith in, right? Because we're stripped from this. We're completely stripped from this and socially engineered not to have faith in this. So understand this, right? You're a creature of feelings. And by following your feelings, right? By following your feelings and everything you can feel the truth and heartbeat with adrenaline, and no one can manipulate you. When you have faith and confidence within yourself, right, to understand the abilities that you can do and the access that you have, right, you can do extraordinary things. You just got to have faith and confidence within yourself to understand these things. But these people don't. And that's what you've got to understand, because that population is growing dramatically, right, with psychological, selfish, egotistical behavior to be competitive. And you know it's true. It's happening all over the world. Moral values crashing. So, graphene oxide, right, gold, was used as a conductor, right, and the great gods of Egypt had superhuman abilities, right? They were known as gods because they could do extraordinary things. Graphene oxide gold is also used, right, to create hybrids. And you can Google this. That's what it's used for in the modern world today. It's used to create hybrids. Graphene oxide is used for mRNA technology. It's also used for gene editing. It's one of the most extraordinary things in the world that you need to pay attention to, no matter what you believe in. I don't recommend taking things. I don't recommend you take drugs or any of these things. I'm trying to explain something about you that you have the natural ability to do. And that's why you've got to pay attention. I'm one of the biggest mentalists recorded on the planet that knows more about this than practically any other human being on earth does. So, then the Israelites were taken back into slavery by the Persians and the Greeks for 300 to 400 years, and exactly the same thing happened where they were stripped from their human abilities, stripped from their sixth sense, and went psychologically mental, and again were activated with graphene oxide gold. And I just want you to consider these things, because they knew that by then. That's one thing they did know. So I want you to understand something. In the days of Jesus, the whole public went mentally crazy. Mentally crazy. They all stoned him in the streets. The most perfect human being on earth that was here to guide you with love, care, compassion, loyalty, honor, respect, moral, empathy, and remorse. And he was very confronting. He didn't come here with chocolates and roses. He came here with a sword to divide mankind between good and evil. And that's what he stood against. Good and evil, right? Understand that. And evil exists in everything, especially when you talk about religions to control mankind, working with the governments, right, who wants to control you with authoritarian control and behavior. And Jesus stood against the system, and they were known as outlaws, right? Everybody stoned him in the street because the whole public, right, in the Roman days were also socially engineered to be psychologically mental. And that's why you see so many people stoning Jesus, and only 11 people believed in Jesus until he resurrected. Consider that. So, what I'm trying to tell you is that there's even a section, right, where Jesus goes and feeds 5,500 people, right? Okay, 5,500 people with bread as well, just like Moses. But where did that bread come from? Because they activated. They activated, and from that moment, they had absolute faith. Absolute faith within themselves, and stopped suffering the human conditioning. Isn't that extraordinary? Because I think it should be very extraordinary, and you should pay attention, because this has been used throughout the whole history, right? So I want you to consider something very carefully. In 1885, the Japanese created the kamikaze, and that was the first time they created mRNA technology with a bioweapon, which was methamphetamine. 1/3 iodine crystals, which is graphene oxide sheets, which is mRNA technology. So consider this. Meth also does what? It's a truth serum. The most powerful truth serum in the world that proves who you really are, right? That proves who you really are when made laboratorily correct. So you can also pick out human beings that are very loving and compassionate creatures, and most people who take meth are. But you don't know that. You only know about the evil ones. Believe me, most people take meth, right? They follow their human instincts, because meth only manipulates your mind with your serotonin and all your endorphins. It only manipulates you to activate, right? Okay, when you take methamphetamine, you're pumped with adrenaline, right? And you become activated, right? So I want you to consider something. 0 to 7, you're activated consistently, and you don't suffer any mental disorders. At 3 years old, you mastermind a computer game. By the time you're 7, you do it instinctively with an undeveloped brain to think with, and you can't be manipulated. So let me tell you something. You create these molecules to conduct, and you conduct to 7 times more positive bound energy, where you receive 7 times more information. And that information can be seen in a child between 3 and 7 when they mastermind a computer game and move 3 times faster than any adult can, because then they go to school and the wheels fall off, and then the chemicals die. And you become confused, right, and socially engineered into a mental institutionalization